Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Ria Rupchansing. C News is live. Topping the news at this time, the murder toll has crossed the 400 figure with a fatal shooting of yet another prison officer, Glenford Gardner, who was shot and killed at C-Trace Bagatelle Diego Martin around 8:30 last night. Residents said they heard gunshots in the area, and when they checked, the body of Gardner was seen in the roadway. A car was also seen speeding away. Gardner was pronounced dead at the scene. And a man who was recently released from prison was killed in La Joqueta last night. According to reports, 34-year-old Kern Andrew Kamiziang was found on Tulip Lane by responding officers at around 11:30 on Thursday. Mr. Kamiziang had been released from prison only 2 weeks ago. Investigations are continuing. And earlier on Thursday, the body of Shamanan Gosain was found on his estate of Manahamra Road. Gosain was found in the back of freight containers by his workers shortly after 2 p.m. He had been shot several times. Police are investigating the theory that he may have been targeted due to an ongoing land dispute. These killings have brought the murder toll to 402. The Ministry of Education has responded to legal action filed against it by one scholarship recipient. The ministry has reaffirmed its commitment to provide monies necessary for the upkeep of students at their respective institutions each semester. President's Medal winner 2016 Priya Maraj has chosen to take legal action against the state to recover payments not made on her scholarship. 19-year-old Ms. Maraj is currently pursuing her Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry at the University of Toronto in Canada, with plans to pursue a career in forensic sciences. In a release on Monday, the ministry said payments are processed in a time frame that coincides with both the requirements of the academic institutions that scholars attend and the financial year of the government of Trinidad and Tobago. The ministry explained its Scholarships and Advanced Training Division assigns a scholar support officer to each scholar to whom they can make queries or raise concerns. The ministry said scholars and potential scholars should also note that there are procedures in place to facilitate the payment of all monies, which include the timely submission by scholars of all necessary and requested documents. The debate on the 2018 budget wrapped up in the Senate on Thursday night with the Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Alison West, delivering the closing remarks. In response to criticism of the various tax increases that were announced by the Finance Minister in his October 2nd presentation, Ms. West said government is in no way intends to impose undue burdens on the public, and the measures are meant to steer the economy to a path of recovery. She referenced the property tax reintroduction, explaining the changes will provide greater equity among citizens.
So you have different assessments done at different times with different results. So you have a mansion in Goodwood Park where the owner is paying $300, and you have a normal family-sized home in Point Fortin where they're paying $5,000. That was inequitable. Right. We needed to bring back a uniform system of land and building taxes, and also we needed to update the valuations. That is what the land and building tax, the property tax is about.
And while she recognized the contributions of independent senators who she said made some valid recommendations, she cautioned the opposition to stick to constructive criticism and not to oppose for opposing's sake.
Challenge us. Ask us questions, call us to account, because this is what the citizenry require of you. But please do it in a responsible manner. Please.
The bill was adjourned to a date to be fixed by the Parliament. Minister of Public Utilities Robert Lahan says the huge debts faced by the Water and Sewerage Authority and the Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission have largely made those state agencies insolvent. Minister Lahan spoke on the critical areas of debt financing during his contribution to the budget debate in the Senate.
The debt faced by T&TEC and WASA is in the vicinity of $13 billion, with over $7.1 billion to WASA and $5.6 billion to T&TEC. The reality is, Madam President, is that those two institutions are technically insolvent, carrying those levels of debt.
Minister Lahan outlined several areas of priority for the Public Utilities Ministry for fiscal 2018, particularly debt management, operational efficiency, robust corporate governance, and enhanced customer service. He further explained the dire situation facing WASA when it comes to debt management.
WASA has an annual operating deficit due in part to the existing tariff structure of approximately 2.4 billion, which is heavily subsidized by the government through an annual allocation of approximately 2.5 billion for recurrent expenditure and 500 million for capital expenditure.
This is the C News Live report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at C News Live. Minister of Agriculture, Lands and Fisheries Clarence RAMBHARAT will be handing out checks to farmers affected by the passing of Tropical Storm Brett in June. The distribution of the checks will take place at the ministry's head office in Chaguanas this afternoon. Minister RAMBHARAT told reporters at a press conference yesterday that his ministry would take $12 million out of the $20 million allocated for relief from Tropical Storm Brett to pay the farmers. He explained how this money would be shared.
That there was a $20 million facility that was going to be made available for 4 ministries, and Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries, as it turns out, will draw down on the majority of that 20 million, 12 million to compensate or provide assistance to 636 farmers.
In terms of how farmers will be compensated for the most recent floodings, the minister said an assessment has to be done.
It's difficult to gauge at this time in terms of a dollar figure, in terms of the impact, and it is difficult to gauge prices on the wholesale and retail markets. I would just say that we've seen nothing unusual as yet, but it is far too early to say.
Minister of Works and Transport, ROHAN SINANAN, is assuring that work will start on landslips and road failures affected by the recent heavy rains. Speaking at a press conference held on Thursday, Minister SINANAN said some major causes of road damage and flooding in areas are due to watercourses not being able to handle the volume of water obtained. He gave an update to a landslide affecting Barrackpore.
We do have some serious challenges up there, where I think we have about 3 major landslips that have taken away a significant part of the road. But the engineers told me within a couple of days, at least the road will be passable again. So that is one area that we have some challenges. And I would think that within the next 3 or 4 days, we will bring back that sort of normalcy.
He also thanked his ministry for the continuous work throughout the rainy season.
The staff of the Ministry of Work, I want to thank them for the efforts that they made, and they have already placed their support to ensure that in the shortest possible time we will bring back that normalcy on all our major roads, watercourses, and in the major channels that to ensure that the rest of the rainy season that we will be in a good position, because we expect to have a continuous amount of rain over the next 2 months before the dry season steps in.
More needs to be done to address non-communicable diseases in the Caribbean. This from First Lady Mrs. Rima Carmona, who says while some are taking heed to the call, the statistics are still high. Mrs. Carmona was addressing a reception dinner on Thursday in celebration of the 10th anniversary of the Port of Spain Declaration Non-Communicable Diseases at Napa.
Our Caribbean societies are not fully aware of the crisis we have found ourselves in. There have been successes as it relates to Port of Spain Declaration in the decade, but there is a sense that we have stumbled, and we need to garner our collective multi-sectoral entities in combating NCDs in the Caribbean.
Meanwhile, PAHO WHO representative Dr. Bernadette Theodore Gandhi said the rise in NCDs severely impacts the economy.
The rising cost of health services associated with NCDs threaten the achievement of universal health. On that note, I wish to commend the Office of the President and the Ministry of Health for its renewed political commitment to the goals and ideals of the Port of Spain Declaration. You have demonstrated on the global stage how strong political commitment can have far-reaching effects in our collective fight against the NCD epidemic.
Taking a look at the weather now in the forecast for this afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago predominantly sunny conditions expected despite the isolated shower. A chance of heavy showers favoring western and hilly areas of Trinidad. Seas are slight to normal. Waves are 1.5 to 2 meters in open water and less than 1 meter in sheltered areas. Trinidad and Tobago has positioned itself to boost trade relations with Mexico, resulting in an opportunity to export locally manufactured goods to Mexico, which has the third largest economy in the world. It was one of the positives which came out of the 4th CARICOM Mexico Summit, which the Prime Minister attended on Wednesday in Belize. Upon his return home on Thursday, Dr. ROWLEY gave details on what the partial scope agreement would entail.
Which means that we'll agree on what products from Trinidad and Tobago can have access to the Mexican market under preferential arrangements. These partial scope agreements are usually worked out in such a way that the bigger economy doesn't swamp the smaller economy. It allows the smaller economy to enter and produce goods for the larger economy in a protected kind of way to allow that growth.
Dr. ROWLEY is confident the agreement will significantly benefit Trinidad and Tobago.
If we get manufacturers in Trinidad and Tobago to have any access to the Mexican market, even 1% of the Mexican market is huge for us.
ROWLEY said the Ministers of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs and Trade and Industry are expected to meet with the Mexican government within the next 2 weeks to further discuss the details of the deal. The Elections and Boundaries Commission says the selection of the best possible candidate for the post of Chief Elections Officer was fair and transparent. The EBC says it followed all the required procedures in selecting Mrs. Fern Narcis to the post. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley yesterday responded to questions from the media regarding claims that Mrs. Narcis is a relative of Public Administration and Communication Minister Maxie Cuffy. The EBC said the position was advertised within and outside the public service and 44 applications were received, of which 12 were shortlisted. That was further narrowed down to 4. Candidates who possess the requisite skills, knowledge, competencies and abilities to effectively perform the duties of the Office of Chief Election Officer. The Commission said it was determined that Mrs. Narcis, who previously held the office of Senior Legal Officer at the EBC, was most suited for the office. Yesterday, Dr. Rowley said while he did not have full knowledge of the claims, he did not feel it should be of great cause for concern.
One of the few of our institutions that find favor with the public and who have kept their duty out of bacchanal as far as they're able to, even though they have been drawn into it, is the Election and Boundaries Commission. I don't know who the person is related to, but that direction of talking about the independence of the EBC because somebody is somebody's distant pumpkin vine cousin, I will say no more on that because I know no more about it.
Jablotay picks up 3 crucial points in a tense affair with their kryptonite team, MICIT St. Anne's Rangers.
And Sour Jablotay have slipped off the pace in the Pro League and can point to a lack of finishing for their current league standings. And it was more evident against lowly Michael St. Anne's Rangers as chance after chance came and went, a bit of bad luck playing a hand in this one. Rangers almost made them pay, but the starboard goal sails over. Still, Jablotay couldn't break through, with the other post denying them on this occasion as it somehow stayed goalless at the half. But in the second half, the Samoa outfit finally broke through, and Jairo Lombardo redeemed himself for his earlier indiscretions. Rangers, though, were not going away quietly, and it needed a fine reflex save to deny them an equalizer. At the other end, the misfiring continued for Jablotay as they remained goal shy, and with every attack, they found ways to miss the target when scoring was the simpler option. It was contagious as Rangers also found themselves with some good looks, but they couldn't hit the target. Eventually, Nathan Lewis, the national standout, produced a piece of his true quality and magic to surprise the keeper with a thunderbolt that flew in from a tight angle for 2-0, 5 minutes from time. The final whistle eventually ended the excitement, with Jablonais holding steady in 5th spot on 17 points with a game in hand.
And that's it for sports. And that's the C News Report at noon. I'm Rhea Rupchansing. And remember, for up-to-date and breaking news throughout the day, you can visit the C News website at ctvtt.com. You have a great afternoon.